Texas was pretty impressive for most of the game. How legit are they as a contender to win their next 3 games, win it all?
Well, Texas is incredibly talented, right? Like they're probably out of all the teams in the playoffs are probably top 3 talent wise. They have been, I think, if you use the Georgia games as kind of a barometer, right? The first time Georgia and Texas played, Georgia blew the doors off of them. The second time they played, that game went into overtime, right? So if you're using that as a judge, they've improved over the course of the season. I saw Texas live and in color in Austin the second week in November. They looked pretty damn impressive to me. I thought they looked good against Clemson. That game was never in jeopardy, right? There was never a moment where I really felt like Texas didn't have it handled, even when it got a little bit close there for a little bit. So, and they have kind of an easier path than Georgia does, which is somewhat ironic too. And I'm sure Kirby Smart will bitch about that as soon as, given the opportunity. But I think they have the ability to go deep, or at the very least, I don't know. They're winning the next one for sure, but I think they have a great chance of ending up in the championship game.
Yeah, what'll be interesting is I think that when you look at their quarterback play, like that's the biggest worry to me is can Quinn play really well? I don't think he played especially well this weekend. I don't think he was bad by any means, but I think that if something's going to hold Texas back, it's going to be that.
Which is wild to think about when you think about how many, Heisman, preseason ballots he was on, and just the hype that's kind of surrounded yours that he would potentially be part of the Achilles heel of this team is something I did not think we would be saying in, the 4th week of December here.
Yeah, no, but they're still really good. And like you said, they've got kind of and I don't want to call Clemson like super, super easy, but I don't really think they were challenged in that game. No. And I don't think they'll be challenged in this one coming up. In fact, I think this one's easier than the Clemson game.
This one is easier than Clemson. We'll take on Arizona State. Texas will out-physical them. They just will. They've got, I don't even have their talent profiles in front of me, but I guarantee you line them up, and Texas is incredibly impressive in comparison. They got a pretty easy draw round 2.
Yeah. Easy draw round 1 to easy draw round 2. Losing the SEC championship might have been their greatest blessing. If there's another question, I do wonder about their secondary a little bit too. It's hard to know Clemson's got really talented wide receivers. I think we talked about this before. Like, I really like their freshmen. TJ Moore was a kid that UF was in on a lot.
He went to Tampa Catholic. That's my alma mater. My nephew is there. Eric coaches down there.
He's nasty. And for a freshman, true freshman, right? Like we've seen he's not on the level of Smith.
There's been all those portal rumors about him too. I was joking during the game. That's clearly why they're throwing him the ball that often. Want to make sure he's going nowhere.
That's probably why Ohio State threw so much to Smith too, to keep him from transferring to a rival of FSU's. But anyway, their secondary is, no one can cover. Really, I think Oregon and Ohio State have the best 2 wide receiver units in the country. And so that game, we'll talk about it next week, but that game is to me, that's probably going to be the best game of the playoffs. Yeah, we'll see.
That may be the championship game, de facto.
But Texas is going to have to play one of those 2 teams that is going to have really, really good wide receivers, much better than Clemson's. Yeah. And I think a quarterback that's, Will Howard's probably a step below, but, Gabriel's probably a step above, but similar to where Klubnik is. And so that would be my concern with Texas is a team that can throw the ball really, really well. And that would be kind of my worry. But Texas runs the ball really well. Their running game, and Clemson's defense is not good. Like, they gave up a ton of points to SMU, a ton of points to Louisville. Shoot, Clemson gave up the most points to any Power 4 team. Florida State scored more points on Clemson than any other Power 4 team in the continental United States. And so, Clemson's defense is not great. And so Texas took advantage of that. But they certainly run the ball well. They, that's what they'll try and do against Ohio State. Although Ohio State certainly shut down Tennessee's running game with Samson out. So I
Yeah,
don't know.
absolutely did.
I think that I think that Texas could do it, but I'm not sold just yet. I need to see them against who's their best win this year? A&M and then Vandy. They
Yeah.
got better against Georgia, but like their best two wins are.
Florida's got to be a better win for them than Vandy.
I mean, not with Lagway
Well,
out
not
and
without
half the
Lagway, I guess.
secondary out.
Yeah. All right, I guess.
Yeah, I don't
Fine, I'll give you that.
like if Florida was at full strength
Yeah.
with their secondary and Lagway, then I'd say yes, but not with the kid that was from the Ivy League starting the game. That game was over before it started. I can't believe you still went. Did they? I thought they also. I mean, and people will get mad about this, but I also wonder about Sark. Like
Yeah.
it seemed like they went away from the run game that
Yeah.
was working so freaking well, and I don't know if it was just to try and get Quinn in a rhythm or what the thinking was there, but they were gashing Clemson on the ground, and then it was like Clemson got close, and they were like, "Oh yeah, we can just run the ball at will. Like let's just do this again," and they closed the game out. But I kind of wonder if I don't know. I'm not trying to say Sark's a bad coach or anything, but like that was just weird.
But I have major questions about head coaches that are also call the plays. It just doesn't work that often. It works far less frequently than it doesn't work. And I think that fans had questions about play calling during the overtime game against Georgia, right, and down the stretch of that game prior to getting into overtime. And I think that's something that's kind of maybe followed him a little bit. I do think it's incredibly hard to be the head coach and call the plays. And it's not a role that most people can do. And I'm interested to see if he does it long term. And I mean, I guess if he wins a title this year, he's probably feeling himself there and will continue to call the plays forever and ever. But if you're looking for something that could be improved for Texas, I think that's probably it, right?
Yeah, no, it's got to get better. The quarterback play probably needs to take a little bit of a step up. And again, the secondary against really good talent out at wideout maybe concerns me a little bit. Those are my question marks for Texas. If they could figure out one of those or two of those, then excuse me, they've got a great chance to win. If not, they're in some trouble.
All right. Well, guys, we really appreciate that you are watching this, whether you're watching it live or if you're going to be watching a replay later on. Do us a favor. Make sure you are subscribed to A Peek Inside SEC Football. We'll make sure we put the link in the description of the video, but subscribe. Go ahead. Do it right now. We're trying to up that subscriber count. We're going to be bringing you a lot more content in the coming days with all the playoff hoopla going on.